Let's face it, business technology is frustrating and complex. So how do you make sure it works for your team? To make IT right, start the discussion at go-domain.com. You're listening to Discussions by Domain, a podcast for business leaders. Our discussions may be with people you've probably heard of before, but the majority of our guests are in the trenches, professionals like you and I, with the same challenges and struggles of keeping up in the Northeast. They're implementing strategies, overcoming hurdles. They're leading the fastest growing businesses in our region. My name is Anthony DeGraw, Director of Partnerships at Domain Computer Services, and the host of this show. When I'm not talking with business leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of Domain and the ups and downs of our own growth journey, as we intend to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show. Welcome to another episode of Discussions by Domain. I am your host, Anthony DeGraw, Director of Partnerships at Domain Computer Services. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Lisa Kent, the founder of the Luminations Group. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So before we get into our topic today, which is going to be virtual innovation, super interested to dive into that topic with you. But before we do that, can you provide our audience with a little background on yourself and what you guys are up to at the Luminations Group nowadays?
Sure. So Luminations has actually been around for 18 years. My background is traditional consumer packaged goods marketing. And we saw early on an opportunity for incredibly talented, mostly women all over the country, all over the world, to work part-time flexibly and help with strategic innovation and marketing for lots of clients, big and small. So started that firm up in 2003. Really never imagined that we'd still be doing the work today, but especially during the pandemic, our experience with virtual work and remote work has been super helpful in quickly getting our clients up to speed with virtual innovation instead of just in-person ideation and brainstorming. And we spend a lot of our time on that very topic, innovation, running innovation sessions, ideation sessions, sprints, design thinking. Luminations has its own trademark version, which is called the Lightning Strike, for clients and partners, helping them bring new products, new services, and new ideas to the world. And also helping run brands and grow brands that are already established. That's who we are.
Awesome. So I feel like, and I think everybody feels this way a little bit, but we are always hearing about innovation all the time. And we need to constantly be innovating, not only for ourselves and in our individual roles, but also for our companies. How do you specifically define innovation? And then the second part of that would be, how do we execute on it while being virtual?
So how I define innovation is intentionally bringing new value for consumers, customers, and people. And that new value, creating the new value, is innovation. That does not necessarily mean we have to have new products or services or completely disruptive technologies, although that, of course, is innovation. It can mean that we have disruptive ways of looking at existing frameworks, brands, models, services, and products. But however we create that new value intentionally, that's innovation to me. And it can be both a noun, the innovation itself, and a verb, the process of creating new value.
Awesome. And how do we work on it now? I feel like, so for instance, just coming from my team, being in person, whiteboarding sessions, all this, getting the thoughts and stuff out there was great when we were in person, and it felt easier to do. How have your team pivoted during this virtual time that we're in now?
That's a great question. And we all, I think, miss the feeling of collaboration you get from being in a room together. There's nothing like the kind of quick thinking that comes from bumping into somebody in a hallway or being physically together with a whiteboard in front of you. That said, this is the way of the world today. And the good news is, as I said, we've been running virtual innovation sessions for a while, and there are many tools and platforms that make that productive. And looking at the silver lining of COVID, we're able to bring in globally more people than we ever might have included before in innovation work because of platforms like this, Zoom or Teams or WebEx, platform of your choice. And to do it by being really inclusive, having more of a diversity of thought, but then it becomes incumbent upon us, the facilitator, to design an agenda and exercises that really keep our brains hopping, that allow us to still whiteboard using any kind of Google document. We use Post-its on Google Docs, for instance, or Mural, again, platform of client's choice, to make sure that we're capturing those ideas. And doing it in short sessions, sprints, but even short sessions in terms of 90 minutes to 2 hours to get everything out of everyone's brain and then giving them a break. Because standing in front of a screen for a full day is hard.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah, we also have the opportunity, because of being remote, to have all kinds of new and different innovation and inspiration. So where we might have had an expert, a trained brain in the room, or a few consumers to co-create with us. Today, because we're working virtually, we can pull in all kinds of experts from all walks of life to join us on a Zoom call for 20 minutes or half an hour and inspire us to think differently. And we might be able to have 3 or 4 or 5 experts and double or triple the number of creative consumers than we could have had physically in a room in a hotel suite somewhere or in a client's office. So try to look at the pros of it, and make sure that we always keep it engaging and fast-paced and focused on the deliverables, because you can get off track working remotely too.
Yeah, Lisa, that's great. Quick question to follow up on that. What do you think has been the reason you've been able to get more diverse international people together to do this? Is it because there's not as much travel? They have more free time? Like, when you're hearing or reaching out to people, what's the reason for that?
Well, Anthony, you're exactly right that there's not as much travel, but there's absolutely not more free time.
Okay.
We all have less free time. We all work more, but we have the interventions of daily life in our background. And actually, we welcome that. We welcome kids on laps and pets in rooms. When I taught my Rutgers class last week, I asked everybody to introduce their pets if they had with them. Sometimes that makes us more relaxed and more able to think creatively. And pulling in globally, well, just being able to have people sitting in their home offices or at home means they might be accessible to us versus being on the road, in a plant, in a lab. And while there's a downside to that, they're not necessarily going into the offices. The upside is we can access their diversity of thought easily by reaching out to other countries, scheduling Zooms at night, early in the morning, or whenever it works for our global partners.
That's awesome. So Lisa, how do you get your customers to start approaching things from a different angle, or typically called outside the box?
Also an excellent question. So we always start by keeping the consumer or the customer at the heart of everything we do. So we look to make sure we're identifying insights about that consumer or customer and bringing them to our clients. And once everybody's nodding their head saying, yes, they're seeing this opportunity or this insight that might not be fully tapped, then the discussion of how are we going to get at it becomes relevant for everybody. And our job is always to try lots of different tactics to get people to think differently and to approach projects from a new lens. And a new lens is often the way that we bring the out of the box thinking. So I guess I'll give you an example. If we were historically looking at pain through the lens of the healthcare provider, how are they seeing it? How are they diagnosing it, evaluate it? maybe we take a different look and we look at pain through the lens of the sufferer or pain through the lens of the caregiver. And that often just twists things enough for us to think outside the traditional box. So changing lenses, shifting, as I mentioned, inspirations, bringing in experts from analog categories, and always nudging our clients to comfortable discomfort where they might already have gone by themselves. Our job is to kind of bring them down that path a little bit further than they might have gone on their own to get them to think differently. You know, we just had the opportunity to talk with some folks that were early employees at Amazon, and they have an innovation process called working backwards that we're working on right now ourselves. I don't know if you've heard of it. Have you heard of it?
I have not. Give me some details.
So working backwards is Amazon's innovation method for almost everything they do. And Bill Carr, actually, the author of the book, is going to be talking about it more when he launches the book next month. But what he shared with us is they start with the PR FAQ, the press release and the FAQs they would have written about that product or service once it was launched to the public.
Wow.
And then they've written that as a team, they back into how are we going to get there? And what obstacles are we going to face? And what do we have to do to make this a reality? So we've been playing with the idea of working backward, starting with where do we want to end up and how do we work backward to get there? And I think it's a really effective method.
That's awesome. Any like a quick finding off the top of your head that you and your team have noticed just from, jumping into this method?
So one of the things that I will share, and as I said, early stages, this is one of many methods we use. As with everything, the customer or consumer is at the heart of what we do. So when we write that press release, we're thinking about her or him, or the benefit that we're going to deliver that hasn't been delivered before. When we write the FAQs, we think about what are going to be the questions we'd be asked by the user of this product or service, or by the influencers who are talking about it. And that's exactly the way we should look at any innovation opportunity, the consumer and the customer at the heart of what we do.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you a little bit more details on when you guys are working with kind of like the customer research end of this, right? I'm going to the customer and I'm trying to pull info out of them of what's the value that they're getting out of my product or my service, and how can it then affect what we're doing. What are some techniques you use to do that, to get the most out, or the most transparent or honest answers, either out of the customer or out of the demographic that the company is trying to approach?
So market research can take a lot of different roles. Very early stage, what we want to learn is what are the jobs that need to be done for this person and what's not being done effectively today. And typically you can't ask that by saying, hey, what's not working for you today? So we really ask broader questions around what's your experience in a certain area. I'll give you an example of an innovation we worked on in cooking in a minute. And there, we didn't say what's not working. We said, talk us through a typical evening when you get home from work and you're cooking dinner for your family. And we observed. And in this case, we observed them talking about it. In many cases, we also leverage ethnographies where we're videotaping consumers. There's lots of great technologies out there where consumers videotape themselves having an experience. So instead of asking a specific question, you're asking them to walk through a routine, walk through a habit or practice for you and with you, so you can see where are the gaps, where are the trouble spots, and where might we be able to make things better, easier, faster for them. We also ask the question, something like, well, why don't you cook dinner every night? Why do you order in? And that often unveils some of the roadblocks to cooking at home. This area changed a lot during the pandemic, people cooking much more at home. But the example I'm going to give you was actually before people were cooking at home, when they were migrating toward bringing in prepared food in a big way and bringing in a takeout food, because they were on the road all the time with their kids, many activities. And that transition time from work to home was impossible. So we call it the witching hour.
Yeah.
And right now, yeah.
Go ahead. Let's jump into. I was hoping you were going to be able to share with us like a great innovation transformation that you guys have been a part of.
I'll talk a little bit about that. On the witching hour, I don't know if you have kids, but now it's sort of the witching hours. Are with us at home, and that transition point is long. And so managing that period is very different. At the time, it was a shorter period and a tough period for lots of working moms and dads. And one of the things that we uncovered in the research, and let me say that when I say we, I don't just mean Luminations. I mean Luminations and our client team. Everything we do is collaborative, and I can never take credit alone for a great idea. But in this case, we worked together to uncover opportunities. And what we learned was that final assembly chefs were the way most moms and dads were viewing themselves. They really wanted to put something on the table that was prepared by them, that they had something to say with, hopefully a little healthier, but they just didn't have time to start from scratch. So they were what we would call final assembly chefs, and you know them, maybe you are one. I want a couple of ingredients, I want to cobble it together quickly and put it on the table as homemade by me as a mom. At the same time, we were finding that parents were frustrated with serving the same old thing over and over again. They had their kind of core 5 to 7 recipes. The kids were sick of them. They were sick of them. They wanted to experience new flavors and spices, but they were afraid because they didn't have the time to screw up, right? They didn't have the time to make a second meal or make their families unhappy. And the output of this was work that we did to create a product called Recipe Creations, where a number of spices, new spices often to a family or a chef, would be put in the right amount for a family of 4 to 5 on a card with a recipe, so that all the parent had to do was pick up the card. Those 4 new spices were there, and they needed the protein of their choice, chicken, fish, or beef, and they could make a home cooked meal. Gave them the opportunity to try new flavorings and spices without having to buy that big bottle and commit. Now we all have lots of bottles of spices that we maybe don't use in our pantry. And this allows a family to try some flavors, and if they like it, then buy the full size. So that's one of the innovations I'm really proud of that you see on the shelf today. And it started out as 2 or 3 recipes, and today it's 12 linear feet with many recipes for many proteins.
Wow, I literally, when you were going through that, feel like you were speaking to the soul of my wife and I.
Okay.
Every single thing you said, from even for me, when I prepare a meal, I want to cook for her, but I want to put it together as quickly as possible. I want it to be fresh and different. For her, it's all about the variety. I don't want to keep cooking the same thing over and over again. What are you allowed to share what product that is, or service it is?
You know what? I'll send it to you to post. But I would strongly advocate that you look at the innovations from McCormick Spices. Okay. And they stepped up their pace of innovation, the cadence, through COVID, helping people learn how to cook simple meals and helping people who are willing and ready to cook even more complex meals. With they always have their finger on the pulse of the newest flavor or spice. So look at McCormick. Another thing that they did, which was really smart, and we were just involved tangentially in this, and it's a couple years old now, is they saw what was happening in restaurants with waiters offering to provide a grind of pepper on your salad or in your soup or on your dish, or freshly ground Parmesan cheese for your pasta. And people felt a little bit of indulgence, a little bit of pampering when someone came by and said, put some freshly ground product on your food. And this was not something you could easily experience at home, right? Your salt and your pepper are in an old tin that perhaps has been sitting there for who knows how long. Rarely displayed on the table, and if they are, not in the manufacturer's package, but dumped into something else. And so they took the opportunity to blend the trend of tabletop, really allowing something from McCormick to appear beautifully on your tabletop, and grinders. And they created grinders, the label peels right off. Their salt, pepper, and other flavor grinders can go right on your table. You're using their package. You'll note they're glass, not plastic. And it's a beautiful thing, and it took off. So there are grinders freshly grinding many spices now for consumers.
That's awesome. So Lisa, thank you for sharing that story with us too. I appreciate it, and it brings to light some of the concepts that we're talking about as well. Where I'd like to go to next is if you could provide our audience with a little bit more information about the Luminations Group's capabilities and potentially like where your ideal starting point with a client is.
Happy to. And let me start by saying we have a range, a portfolio of services that start with driving innovation and growth and end with executing. So we also help to launch new products, to run businesses when they need additional staffing or coverage. And we are happy to insert ourselves at any stage of the process, Anthony. So you could call us in really early. We need some white space ideas, or we have this technology, figure out what we're going to say about it. You could call us in the middle. Here's the product. Now we really need to think about positioning and communications. You could call us in at the end. Product's been on shelf for a couple of years. It's not doing what we want it to do. We need to amp up the performance, help us come up with a strategy for that. We're really agnostic about where you pull us in to the challenge. We just love the challenge.
Awesome. That's great. And I guess the final question I have for you is something that we connect on, which is Rutgers University. But I know for you, it's not just about Rutgers. So as an adjunct professor at top universities, I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on like what your students are craving to understand, whether it's about marketing, innovation, or just life. Like what are you learning about your students as an adjunct professor nowadays? Just interested in that.
Well, they thank you for asking, and I thank you for asking. It's tough being in all virtual school. For college students, I have a high school student who's doing it and a grad school student who's doing it. And even though I love the technology, sitting in front of a screen for all your classes is rough. And now on campus, that's not ideal. So a couple of things. First and foremost, my students want to know, how do they get a job in a pandemic, right? It's a different kind of job search process. I'm really trying to help with that by making as many connections as I can. When I teach undergrads, they're typically junior and senior marketing majors. When I teach grads, they're in master's programs, are all looking for jobs this spring. So how can we connect them in new and different ways to companies that are looking for really smart students? And the good news is there are lots of companies hiring. One of the ways that I tell all the students to do that is be very active on LinkedIn. I just had a guest speaker from PepsiCo in my class last night, and she said something that I've been saying all along: ask everybody you know to introduce you to one person, just one. Most people, I am certainly, and I know you are happy to talk about their careers and make connections for interested students. So that piece of job search in pandemic and job search in general in an uncertain economy, really important to students. Second piece is engagement. How do we make classes interesting online for students who have maybe 5 or 6 classes that they're attending online? And my class is on Thursday night, so end of the week, end of the day. And so I've taken the principles from Luminations to my class. We don't go very long. 90 minutes is kind of it. We have lots of breaks. I'm standing up right now. I encourage them to do it. As I mentioned, pets are welcome and encouraged, and bringing in guest speakers that inspire them about real life examples versus just my lecturing to them all helps. Integrating video, which here we are recording a video today. Thinking about students like consumers. What's going to keep them engaged and help them embed in their brains what they need to learn. Also, being kind, right? They need kindness, students. And so taking it a little bit easier on the demands of assignments, and they probably wouldn't say this, but on grading as well. Just giving everybody a little break because this is a crazy time. And the last thing is circling back to that connection. I talked about career connections. Well, we also launched a product called Care Package Connect, and Rutgers University is sending out to its students a package, a box, and I'll get one and show you before this podcast ends, which will be filled with information from them, a greeting from their dean, and a Rutgers mask, Rutgers specific swag, but also products from manufacturers that we've invited to send into their homes, Kind and Combos and Ricola and Stuff Puffs, things that the students would enjoy, will have a little bit of a surprise and delight factor, and it will come from Rutgers. And we're hoping other universities will jump on too. Why? They want to connect with their students. Students want to feel that connections, and manufacturers can't sample the way they used to. There's no races, there's no concerts, there's not even in-store events. It's a win for everyone, and the goal is it's cost neutral to the university. So students aren't sitting home saying, I'm paying to be taking classes at home and the university's investing in this. No, they're understanding that manufacturers are providing the products to them. So Care Package Connect is another way to connect.
That's awesome. I'll make sure we link to all of these in the show notes of this episode to make sure we can point people in the right direction. Lisa, as we're coming up on time here, and this has been a phenomenal interview and episode, where can people go to learn more about yourself and the Luminations Group?
Great question. Thank you. So Luminations Group is the Luminations Group. Wait, let me do that over again. I'm going to get the box. Wait a sec.
Okay, go ahead.
Anthony, this is the box I mentioned that's going to Rutgers students. So it's a secret, but by the time this comes out, they'll all know because we're asking if they want it. For Rutgers Business School students, look for this box. And for manufacturers who want to be a part of it, please let me know.
Yeah, that looks amazing. That looks like it was well put together. I can't see the contents, but obviously you gave us an overview of that. And as a student, I think receiving that in the mail, look at that. There you go. That's awesome.
And then there's notes from there's a camera cover, a Rutgers cover. There's notes from career services and the dean, and a request to post on social media.
Awesome. So people who are listening, thank you. So people listening to this on audio, you're definitely going to have to check out the video so you can see everything that Lisa just shared on the screen here, which will be on our YouTube channel and also hosted directly on our website. So Lisa, thank you so much for sharing all of this. Before we part ways, can you just tell me and our audience where we can check and find out more about yourself as well as the Luminations Group?
Absolutely. So you can find us at luminationsgroup.com, LUMINATIONS group, all one word.com. You can also learn about me at lisa-kent.com. And we encourage you to sign up when you come to our website for our newsletter, which is called Connections. We have a couple webinars coming up ourselves, and I hope, Anthony, you'll join in as well.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Lisa Kent, founder and CEO of the Luminations Group. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you. Have a great day.
To ensure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in iTunes or your favorite podcast player. This guarantees that every episode will get delivered directly to your device. To help us get the word out, share with a friend, leave a review, and check out our discussions on the web at go-domain.com/podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.